Hey everyone, it's Tony here. Today we'll be going over the ISTP personality type using David Blaine as an example. For those who don't know, he's a very famous magician known for breaking several world records, one of the most famous being holding his breath underwater for an impressive 17 minutes 4.4 seconds. In the clips I've used, he goes into his style and preparation for setting world records, as well as look into his childhood and general approach to life. So, hope you enjoy.
Divers are in the sphere.
Okay, David, just relax. We've got you. Come on up. You okay? You okay?
Hey, drop them out. Martin Stepanek and Mandy Ray Cruikshank have got David out of the bubble.
So that is a terrifying video. What happened in that particular situation? Why did things go sideways?
In training, when I'd worked on that, the record was, I believe at the time, was 9 minutes. And I'd never gotten up to 9 minutes. I got to 7 minutes and 47 seconds dry, no oxygen, just breath holding. And I figured if I starve myself, I'm in the sphere, my metabolism, everything slows down, I would be able to miraculously hold my breath much longer. And it did the opposite effect. So when it came time to do the stunt, I had handcuffs on, I was strapped at the bottom, and I just started to convulse. They jumped in to get me, and you can't see in the video, and I was like, no, like I held my finger up to stop them, because I thought I could keep going, but I'm blacking out. And luckily they did jump in, because he had to take these things off to pull my head above the water.
Okay guys, so I usually like to talk about the dominant function of any personality type in these videos, and for ISTPs that'll be introverted thinking, TI. And something I've learned over the years is that when you're looking for it, even though it's introverted and it's kind of harder to spot in people, always look at the eyes. From what I've seen time and time again is that they tend to have these droopy, sunken, sort of sagging, deep analytical look to them. But the best word I could think of is droopy. And usually the stronger the TI, the more these characteristics are seen. And remember, nothing in psychology is absolute. There's always exceptions, but you need to be able to pick up on patterns and generalities between people. So that being said, try to pay attention to David's eyes in these clips.
I mean, early on I would read about all the people I looked up to, and that was kind of like my college, was finding people that did things that I was really amazed by, and then learning as much as I could. And then what I started doing is I started finding all the books on Nobel Prize winners, and then in literature specifically, and then I would read what books they recommended, and then I would read the books that they recommended, and then on the back of that book it would be what this book was influenced by. So I started going through lots of that stuff.
The original hyperlinks, bibliographies.
Yeah.
This was the best example of introverted thinking that I could find in the whole interview, so I wanted to show it real quick. And basically it relates to ISTPs and their first slot TI. And what it is this cognitive process of deconstructing information logically. And for ISTPs, it's like this insatiable thirst they have for breaking things down that can't ever be quenched. Like infinite thinking that's always going on in the back of their minds. Even if it's fragments and bits of information that aren't relevant to what they're saying, it's always on, always analyzing, calculating, digging for more and more.
Yeah. Seems like one of the main dangers of any type of breath hold training is you feel fine until you're not. Right? I mean,
Right,
with some of it.
But when you black out, see, I learned that Navy SEALs, as part of the training, what they do is they make the SEALs comfortable with blacking out underwater. So what they do is they strap them to 45-pound plates and make them walk the bottom of a pool. And they walk until they black out underwater. And then they get pulled to the top and they're brought back and they're fine. But that makes everybody not afraid of drowning. You have no fear because you've already blacked out underwater.
You've already experienced the worst case scenario.
So this kind of goes hand in hand with ISTPs and their second slot extroverted sensing, which basically means that they understand the importance of taking action, doing something, and then breaking it down logically and learning from experience. And that sometimes the best way to conquer your fears is to just do it.
TEDMed, where you gave a great presentation. It's been a hugely popular talk. But what I remember personally was with a small group sitting in the audience and having
You held your breath.
train people. So check this out, guys. There maybe I'm making this number up, maybe 15 people in the audience.
You got up to almost 5 minutes.
I got to 3:33. I remember very
okay.
specifically, but there were people in the audience who got past 5. And these were people completely untrained. My breath hold record for me was around 45 seconds. I have lung issues. and I got to 3 minutes and 33 seconds, and there were other people who just kept trucking. And that was maybe 15 or 20 minutes of exercises?
Yeah, 20 minutes total. That was scarier than any of the stunts that I've ever done. Talking at that conference.
Oh, talking at the conference.
Yeah, the stunts are easy. But I was in front of like 500 of my favorite people, you being one of them. And I had never given a public talk where I wasn't doing magic. So just to stand there and have to talk in front of everybody that I respect so much, I was like 3 days, 3 nights, no sleep. So that was its own stunt.
So, I mean, it's all relative, right, guys? I mean, he's not afraid of that, but he's afraid to talk in front of 500 people. So whatever your fears might be.
I want to address two things here. The first is that I hope you've caught on to his hand movements. They're very fluid and precise, and he uses them to emphasize and illustrate the points he's making very well. And usually this is a sign of strong extroverted sensing. Not always, but usually. I also briefly went over that in my ISFP video. But the second point is going back to fear again and looking at the ISTP cognitive stack. Extroverted feeling will be in the 4th slot, and FE is stuff like group dynamics, harmony, social cues, etc. So I don't want to say that the 4th function is related to fear exactly, but since it's usually underdeveloped in any type, it usually causes discomfort or anxiety in situations where it has to be used.
Puts it in perspective. What was your childhood like? How would you describe your childhood, early childhood?
I grew up in Brooklyn with a single mother, and we didn't have much. She worked multiple jobs, but she was so incredible because she allowed me to dream, imagine. Yeah, there's, you see? And also, do you see I have leg braces on?
Oh yeah.
So I was born with my feet turned in, and so I couldn't run fast and I couldn't swim fast. So at the age of 5, I was on the YMCA swim team, and that's where I started to learn to hold my breath, because in order to keep up or even be faster than the other kids, I learned how to swim without breathing. So all the other kids had to learn how to do this, and I would just swim straight across, and that's where I started to develop an ability to hold my breath.
So even from a young age, you can see that he had the willpower to keep moving forward no matter what, and that reflects the ISTP mentality pretty well. So don't ever try to control or confine them, because that never tends to work out too well.
Wow.
But so back to my mom, yeah, so she was just, I could ask for nothing more amazing. She was the best gift that I could have had as a child. And she'd walk me through the park all the time, and even if I was late for school, like one time I was walking through the park and I was late, and she was walking me before she had to go to work. And I was like, Mom, look, there's King Kong. And instead of her saying, no, we're late, let's go, she said, where? You know, she engaged, right? So we walked all the way over, and it was just a log, tree that was down. But the idea that she let me imagine and believe and didn't want to stifle that's what made her so incredible. When I was 5, I said to my mom, I'm going to be a magician one day. And she went, that's amazing. And so
incredible.
I believe.
So you stuck to the script, like you.
Yeah, stuck to it.
How has she affected how you live your life today?
I mean, I think she was so brave. She got sick when I was a teenager and fought cancer, and she fought without a complaint. She was very tough, but the way she approached suffering and death was almost like she was so graceful about it that I was curious, the suffering that she endured and how she found so much beauty out of it. I think that was like one of the sort of planted the seed to, what is there on this other side of enduring things that are...
And not viewing it as just a bad thing. And were you were with her when she passed?
Yeah, she died in my arm.
I can't even imagine.
That was, I remember at that moment, I felt like my body was like one big twig, and it was like snapped. And I became really afraid to connect like that to anybody else.
Okay, so obviously this clip was a bit heavy to listen to, and I was debating whether or not I wanted to keep it in this video, but at the same time, it just goes to show that ISTPs, even though they get labeled as logical realists all the time, they actually do have an intuitive, empathetic side to them that isn't easily seen, especially towards family and close friends. And even though they might not know how to express that externally, You're not going to get that from reading some general description of ISTPs. You just won't. And that, most importantly, if you ignore the cognitive functions, then the MBTI just becomes essentially useless.
How did, besides the putting the armor on or not wanting to necessarily connect in that way, did anything else change?
But I think also at that point, that's when I became fearless, because at that point, I felt like I had nothing to lose. So when I was 19 or 20 or something like that, I was at the airport and my bag was missing, and I saw a whole bunch of identical bags coming out, and there was all these guys dressed in identical jumpers, and I was like, I think you guys have one of my bags, because I have the exact same bag. It was a Toomey bag. They said, go ask him, knock on the window. And it was a limousine, a white limo parked out front with tinted windows. And I knock on the window, and the thing rolls down, and Mike Tyson's there with his fist up. He's like, you got a problem? And I was like, holy shit. No, Mike, you're like my favorite person. And I grew up, So he says, jump in. So I jump in the limo with him, and we drive to the hotel he's staying at. And I'm doing magic to him, and it's amazing. And along the way, he says to me, he says, I wasn't supposed to be the heavyweight champ. He's like, I wasn't tall enough, I didn't have long arms. He's like, but I had nothing to lose. And when you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. And I was kind of like, that was like another great piece of information from Mike Tyson.
Before we move on to this last clip, I just wanted to say that I don't know why, but I've seen ISTPs are very good at imitating others. And if I had to relate mimicry to a function, I'd pick extroverted feeling, because I've seen correlations with that. But ISTPs, I don't know. They just naturally have this ability not only to imitate voices and languages, but they can look at how someone does something, especially with body movements like skateboarding or fighting, and they have this ability to copy it. I don't know. Maybe it's just an SEFE thing.
Everybody thinks they're so different, but really there's also generalities among people. So you can really kind of look at a group and you can estimate which person's going to react a certain way. And you get better and better as it the more you do it.
Now,
it's kind of like what psychics do. Sorry to interrupt. Psychics, basically, when you walk in, they profile you right away, and they've done it so many times that they can kind of cold read what you do, where you're from, what you're looking for, whether you're skeptical, whether you're not. So it's like you just learn to read people.
Read the cues.
Yeah.
If you've ever heard the saying, straight from the horse's mouth, I think that sort of applies here. If you'd like to get a better understanding of the MBTI and cognitive psychology, then I'd recommend checking out the other videos I've made and liking and subscribing. A lot of time and effort goes into making these videos, so just hope you learned something new, and yeah, that's all for now. Take care.